And here we go.
Welcome, Collective, to another great episode of Brews and Builds. And this episode could not have been done except by our amazing patrons. Whether you're part of the Collective, Squeeze Choir, BigTucks, Mr. Combo, Storm Count, it doesn't matter. We love you guys and thank you for the support.
Oh no. Oh God.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 124 of CMD Tower's Brews and Builds. I'm MrComboNumber5, and my fellow host will most likely have multiple violent outbursts by the end of the episode, BigTuck.
I thought there's another one that I thought you were going to go with that I was going to be talking about later, so I'm glad I'm waiting on that.
Well, guys, we wouldn't be able to do this episode without our amazing patron community. Patreon.com/CMD Tower. We have been retooling some of the tiers. We're actually going to be piloting being on Twitch later this month. So we've actually shifted because it seems like you guys want more content opposed to gimmicky things. So we've actually discontinued the RK Post token reward. And now we're going to shift those funds over to hopefully enhance that Twitch experience, the YouTube gameplay experience. Even Tuck and I were texting about this. Maybe taking little clips from the gameplay.
Oh yeah.
And what was some of the ideas that we threw around?
There was like blast of the match. You've been blasted was one. There was
Oh, you know what you should do? We should create one that's that was dripping for like
sweaty. Or wasn't there one that was like there's some like play of the game that was like that, right? Or like massive screw ups, those sort of things. Yeah,
so I think So we'll be coming out with lots of shorts like that based out of those gameplays. So, this money will kind of help go to fund that. But seriously, we love our patrons from $1 a month up to $25 a month. We have 4 different tiers. Go on there, pick the one that you're comfortable with. And definitely if it's like, hey, I can only afford to be in the Discord and get some of the soft value stuff. But hey, you got a new job? You can go in, increase it to the 5, the 15, or the 25. Get more swag, support the team more, and have opportunities to actually be on the channel. It's pretty exciting stuff. And we have a great referral program. So if you're already a member, refer your friends, your frenemies, your collective, and make sure they message us on Patreon when they join. And just let us know which collective member did it. And we're going to be sending you something for free in the mail.
And the best one that we came up with, this is a Mr. Combo, hot soup, more like hot garbage.
Yes. Now, of course, if you guys want to get our amazing swag, you've probably seen our foil playmats on streams, head over to cmdtower.com/merch. We do have our Holiday Jund sweater on there. We do have our amazing foil playmats, our sleeves, our tokens, our coins, the whole kit and caboodle. You should go check it out. There's redacted bits that contractually obligated we are not allowed to speak to. But of course, the free way to share the content you're watching and listening to is just do that, because every little bit of interaction from the collective does help. Now, we do have a very, very exciting partnership that we're kind of looking into and testing out. You've heard myself and others talk about these amazing playtest cards that we've used in the past, especially the Brews and Builds Game of Thrones episode. I think that was lost episode number 1 from January 2021, if I believe that's correct.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And they wanted to extend an exclusive stackable discount to our community. So head over to abysscardshop.com and use the code CMD Tower. And I believe he offers 10% off whenever you use CMD Tower, but he also offers 10% off whenever you spend $30 or more. So that's like 20% off or some other more accurate fraction that I'm not smart enough to do on the fly. And whenever you do, not only you're getting a high quality playtest card, but you're also supporting our channel. And that really is going to go a long way. So if you already own a copy of a card, if you're trying to figure out if a deck will work before you spend the money, go spend $3, $4 and get a card and use your discount. Support the community, support CMD Tower. So Brews and Builds is our deck tech series. Since we conquered the path to 32, the 12 themes of EDH decks, we've moved on to a classic brew from day one Brews and Builds with a traditional episode. And we describe the brewing of decks similar to how beer is brewed. So we broke it down into 4 different categories. Then we have shenanigans. It could be pet card synergies. Is it in the deck? That are just kind of fun. We call that spice.
And not every beer has them, but spices and other additives help separate a normal stock beer from a specialty one. It can be the pepper that turns an IPA into a jalapeno IPA, or the addition of coconibs, rum barrel aged coffee beans that turn this breakfast stout into a coffee imperial stout.
And to seal off the episode, we have a bottle capping. And these are going to be BigTuck's and I's cuts and adds to the deck that are going to be under $5, under $50, and a no budget recommendation. It just can't be a mana only land.
I am finally bringing the heat on the personal recommendation dollar wise. It's finally happening.
So without further ado, let's get brewing. So today, guys, it's a deck that has been, let's just say, shelved.
The scourge of Brews and Builds.
We've put it off for 3.5 years. To BigTuck's dismay, it's here. We're talking about Animar's Glass Cannon. But Tuck, why don't you read who Animar is and does?
Animar, Soul of the Elements, is one of the original arch enemy style decks. This used to be, and still can very well be, kind of a big boy of the community. 4-teamer, that's blue, red, and a green. It's a 1/1 legendary creature elemental. That's a mythic for about $6 for the foily copy at that. It's got protection from white and from black. And then whenever you cast a creature spell, put a 1/1 counter on Animar, Soul of the Elements. Creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each +1/+1 counter on Animar.
Let's head over to a quite robust spice package.
Very robust.
BigTuck, why don't you start off? What is the spicy boy you feel you want to talk about?
I think I don't remember what deck it was. You recommended this to me in one of the decks that I was working on as a spice pick, something a little fun. This card, this Elder Dragon, if you will, is very overcosted on its face. But if you can get it down for half the price, I think there's a lot of cute synergies and a lot of cute things you can do with it. And that card is Intent the Dreamer. So 3 colorless, blue, green, and a red for a 6/6 legendary creature dragon. It has flying. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may pay 2 colorless and a blue. If you do, exile the top card of your library face down. You may look at that card for as long as it remains exiled, and you may play that card without paying its mana cost for as long as Intent remains on the battlefield. Also, interestingly enough, I don't know if you knew this, both this and one of your other spices were the backup commanders to this deck when it first got printed.
Yep,
which is very cute. Nice.
Yep.
So, is this card great for 6? No. Is this card good for 3? Yeah, it's really good. I'm guessing this is going to go to the chopping block for you. I can kind of get that read from you.
Yeah.
Which is totally fair. I get it. I just think that this is cute as another way. Once it's down, this is going to be a huge threat, right? People are going to spend all sorts of resources trying to get rid of Animar, and then now you're going to start getting this incremental value over time, right? The fact that it's the 2 colors and a blue, and it stays there in perpetuity, I think also is interesting, right? As you're building up Animar, if you exile some big creature, you can hold it there until Animar gets big enough to cast it for nothing, fueling into everything else. That being said, this is a slam dunk spice card in this deck.
Yeah, well, so one point of correction, you don't have to worry about Animar, because when you pay the 3, you get to play the card for free. So there is no mana that you have to deal with. But the only reason it's on the chopping block for me is that it has to deal combat damage to the player. And I get it. If it just dealt damage to a player, you could just ping it, and then it'd be broken. But for me, I don't have a lot of double strike, if any, in this deck. So I think if I had double strike, and it was something that this deck was more combat focused than combo focused, I would definitely leave it. And even if it was a spice, it would still be a good spice. But most of the time when I'm swinging, it's a massive swing or an Animar swing. It's not an incremental value.
Sure,
Let me ping you for 6 with
one
intent.
here, one here, one there,
And with the CMC being a 4/3/2, I'd like to lower it. But look, I think the card is very interesting. If you could figure out a way to, like, on combat, okay, with ability on the stack, I'm actually going to make you put that card on top of your library, and now I get it for free. That seems pretty cool. There's a lot of interesting design space around Intet the Dreamer. I just think for probably the way that this Animar deck is built, it's probably just, not
cute,
the one.
Too cute. A little too sweaty.
Ooh. Well, mine is our dearly departed audio producer. We're talking
Oh.
Squee the Immortal. Colorless red, legendary creature Gabo. It's a rare. It's a 2/1 for $1.30. And it reads, you may cast Squee the Immortal from your graveyard or from exile with a little bit of flavor.
Slam dunk one to go out on. Dovin, hashtag suck at Dovin. Nobody likes you. The mumble coach from Waterboy. I like how everyone forgets in that movie. There's a scene where they're like, where is that coach, right? And it cuts to him wasted, drunk with a bunch of cheerleaders, and one of them's got like the badger head on, like falling all over
Yes.
itself. It's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
So if you guys are curious, the card I'm talking about, yes, there is a food chain in the deck. It's a way to get me some infinite mana and be able to cast out some creatures, because that's kind of my backup to Animar, because it only does the colorless piece of it. But this also does get me infinite enter the battlefield effects. We've talked about Alter the Brood. We talked about Soul Harvest. Being able to, that helped me draw out the deck. No, we don't do any type of Labman, Thassa's Oracle type stuff.
Well, why would you? You have Alter the Brood, right?
Oh, that's very true. So yeah, Squee, it's good in here. Could I have talked about some other spices? Yes, but I actually do believe if you're doing an Animar deck, you're probably doing a food chain combo in there, and Squee the Immortal just has to be in there.
Yeah, why not? Like, it's a spice because it's a dead draw 90% of the time, or it's a 2/1 blocker for 3 that you just need something to live for another turn. But sure, like, it's a cute card. He's a little gabloon. He's a little gabloon.
Well, guys, that's going to wrap up the spice package. All right. Well, now we'll head over to the bottle capping. And as a reminder, this is BigTuck's and I's cuts and adds to the deck. They're going to be under $5, under $50, and a no budget recommendation. Just can't talk about mana only lands. So there's a lot that needs to happen here, Tuck.
I don't disagree.
And I'm shamed to say there's some staples I did not put in this deck. It's very frustrating.
If I may join with you, I feel that there is, so my two are, I have two that are quality of life improvements, as we call them, right? Like QOLs in the IT world, and then there's one that I'm going to rub in your face.
Well, this one that I'm starting off with might be the rub in the face, but the first card I'm going to cut from the deck is actually am going to cut Terastodon. 6 colorless green creature Elefante. It's a 9/9. 9/9. And when Terastodon enters the battlefield, you may destroy up to 3 target non-creature permanents. For each permanent put into a graveyard this way, its controller puts a 3/3 green elephant creature token onto the battlefield. It's about a quarter. So my thought on this, even though you could make the argument green, you blow up 3 of the worst non-creature permanents with Animar out, he's increasing my CMC quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I've actually seen Terastodon, like, I've even seen my opponents play Terastodon, and everyone's like, okay, well, for sure I got to get rid of that. Well, I guess I'm going to get rid of one of your lands. I'm sorry. Here's a 3/3 elephant token. Or I guess you don't. Or I've even used it on myself because it's like, I just need stuff. I think the non-creature component, if it just said destroy target permanent,
yeah,
that would still be playable for 8. But the non-creature permanent, that I don't know. I don't like it.
This is a card that I used to kind of be under the influence of.
Yep.
Goes in every deck, right? If you're running green creatures, why not, right? What a removal. And there's still some edge cases where it's like, and a Golgari deck, turn 1 Entomb, turn 2 Reanimate, the game's over, right? Or those sort of like bizarro shenanigans of blinking it or something like that. I just don't like, even at the cents price, right? For 23 cents, this didn't make the cut in my budget all creatures deck, to be honest with you. Because I was like, what?
Wow.
Because I was like, well, I have to get to 8 mana to just destroy 3 non-creatures. Like, then I'm just gonna die to the beast tokens I make, right? Because this is literally like a reset button. So Terastodon's been a card that's always been near and dear to my heart. But to your point, I think it's starting to show its age a little bit, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
We'll see.
All right. Well, the card I'm going to add, you get it for $3.48.
So stupid.
Turns there is a secret layer for $10, which is kind of cool looking. Don't know what secret layer that's from, but we're talking about Temur Sabertooth, guys. 2 colorless green creature cat. It's a 4/3. Colorless green, you may return another creature you control to its owner's hand. If you do, Temur Sabertooth gains indestructible until end of turn. We talked about the great whales, the palinacrons, the parakeet
Yeah.
drakes, the cloud of fairies. Like all of those guys basically say, with Temur Sabertooth out, we're going to go infinite into ETB effects. But the great thing about this is that this actually does supplement Animar, because I'm going to be able to recast that stuff.
Yeah.
And the first time I do it, him getting indestructible, it makes it almost impossible for my opponents to really interact the loop if they let it go off at least once.
It's just another equilibrium sort of rigmarole. The only thing I'll say about this was in fact one of the combo pieces that in the misaligned game with that youth at MTG Fest Kansas City,
That
the youth,
youth.
my deck's so blinged. I hope that guy, this is my end goal for this whole conversation. I hope that guy grows up in some place, right? And listens to this podcast. And then I'm leaving here, going out to the Forerunner, and some guy just walks up and shoots me in the head. And it's that kid. He's like, I've been listening to this for 10 years.
And then out of nowhere, you just hear.
Yeah. You just hear.
Way to go, child. Way to go.
He's like, if you weren't wearing sunglasses, then you would have been shot in the head.
So, anyways, yeah, Temur Sabertooth, I think it's a slam dunk upgrade over Terracodon.
Very good.
BigTuck, what are you cutting? What are you adding?
All right, these two are cutting ones that I think have better options in the deck. So I'm actually going to cut Domri Raid, the OG one. Just listen.
All right.
Don't worry. Don't worry. I like this card a lot too, but I think there's a better option. So Domri Raid is a colorless and Gruul that's green and a red for a Planeswalker Domri. That's a 3-drop +1. Look at the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, you may reveal it and put it into your hand. -2, target creature control fights another target creature. -7, you get an emblem with creatures you control have double strike, trample, hexproof, and haste. I like this card a lot. I think it's cute. I think it's fun. It's cheap. But I just don't feel like it's gonna get blasted. I just don't feel like it does enough for this deck, right? And maybe it will probably draw you card a couple times, but we already have piles of other cards in here that are gonna draw you cards all the time. So I'm less worried about that. But here's what I think. Because eventually Animar might die, right? And you could use a little bit of a boost to get Animar out. So I think Domri Anarcha Bolus for the same CMC is a better card. So 1 colorless and Gruul for a legendary Planeswalker Domri that comes in with 3 loyalty. Creatures you control get +1/+0, not irrelevant in Animar. +1, add a green or a red. Creature spells you cast this turn can't be countered. And then -2, target creature you control fights target creature you don't control. So I like this as a little bit more of a ramp package, right? If Animar is dead, this is going to give you something to go with. We talked about how Surrak is really good to protect things from getting countered. I just feel like Domri, if you put this Domri in, it could potentially go into more of a hop than a spice.
So I hear you. I think the biggest issue I have, and you already alluded it, so I know what one of your other cuts is with the Garukent. I think the thing that you might be missing out on is that almost half the deck is creature cards.
Oh, sure.
So most likely I am drawing a card for that +1, and we all know that I'm not the best at drawing cards. And the mana for me is inconsequential because the whole goal of the deck is to be infinite. I do like the creatures get the +1/+0 because I do have 42 of them. I do like that it still has the fight effect, because that was one thing I was going to bring up, is I do like the -2, because if Animar having protection from white and black, a lot of times I don't care. I'm going to kill your whatever, and it's going to die.
Even with,
Yeah, but, I mean, it's worth looking at, and I know I have a bunch of them, because it just seemed like they handed those out like freaking candy with the secret layer drops.
Yeah. At $150, even this is a card I feel like even if you buy it and it's not the right fit for this deck, there will be a deck that you will build that this will be a good card in.
That's fair. All right. Under $50, we are cutting my really bad Rift in Brine Elemental.
Oh, yeah.
Brine Elemental, 4 colorless blue, creature elemental. It's a 5/4. And it does have more for 5 colorless blue. So this is the only reason the card was in the deck. You may cast this card face down as a 2/2 creature for 3 colorless. Turn it face up anytime for its morph cost. If it's turned face up, each opponent skips his or her next untap step. So the only reason it was in the deck, guys, because there is I talked about the Eldrazi build of Animar. Well, there's a
Right.
morph build of Animar because you
Right.
could just literally play your morph creatures back and forth. It's free because they're colorless. He gets infinitely huge, and then maybe you start using that extra mana or something to do stuff with. I don't. To me, just having a single morph creature or a single Eldrazi, get rid of that stuff and actually get things that do more flavor to the deck. So I think cutting Brine Elemental just makes a lot of sense, and it's going to help reduce my CMC.
Yeah, there's this thing called the pickle lock that you can do with turning Brine Elemental up and down, which you can do in morph decks. But again, I think for doing this one time and then having to bounce them and reset it and then flip it over again for 7 is probably not really worth it when it's not the main build of the deck, right?
Yeah, if Animar was able to reduce the morph cost,
Mm.
then I think it'd still be worth keeping in there. But playing it for free, then paying 7 each time,
It,
and then
yeah, it like
figuring out a way to bounce it again, that's what am I
it just
doing?
it like wipes out the point of casting it for the morph cost, right?
Yeah, it's almost at that point. If you have 7 mana every turn and you're trying to do a lockout, just do Nexus of Fate loop and
Sure.
actually like win the game.
Yep.
So
Agreed.
we're gonna cut that for a great card that actually does a little bit of what Tuck's other card, the Domri Raid, does. We're talking Rhythm of the Wild.
Oh yes, this card is incredible.
Colorless Gruul, red and green, enchantment, uncommon, insane.
Bonkers.
Creature spells you control can't be countered, and non-token creatures you control have riot. So they enter the battlefield with either a +1 counter or haste. So if it's Animar, he's coming in with a counter 1000% of the time, unless someone's just at 20 command damage and I got to get him for 1.
Yep.
Uh, all my other creatures, it just kind of depends on what I'm doing. But the creature spells you control can't be countered. That's huge. So I think this
Yeah.
for 3 mana does a lot.
It's also $5, which is stupid because it's an uncommon from Ravnica. But
Yep.
I think that shows its power. Here's my conceit. Great card. I think actually leaving to your.
Are you okay?
I'm torn. This is a very great compliment to the Domri Anarch or Bolas. And the only reason why I wouldn't say this one's immediately better is because Domri does have that removal option to him as my cut.
Sure. Yep.
Right? But
I'd agree.
to your point, this card is bonkers and also a slam dunk. Can we get an explosion? Yeah. Love it. Love to see it.
All right. Well, Tuck, what's your under 50 cut and what's your under 50 ad?
So we are doing another quality of life improvement here. So I am actually going to cut out Garuk's Horde.
You're insane.
No, trust me. I got one that's just better. Just a better one. So Garuk's Horde, 5 colorless and double green for a creature beast. It's a 7/7 trampler. Play with the top card of your library revealed. You may cast the top card of your library if it's a creature card. Awesome. I don't
Yeah.
hate it. It's great. Even though its cost will be reduced from Animar, it still costs 7 to get out, right? And in reality,
Sure.
you want something like this hitting early and getting that value through.
Oh, usually I want this to hit late because that's when I have 0 cards in hand.
Interesting.
So, but I'll be interested still because if it still does the same thing, just quicker, that's great. So,
Exactly. And we're also playing a 3-color deck. So that's why, in my opinion, Vizier of the Menagerie is a little quality of life upgrade from that. So 3 colorless and a green for a creature not gonna work in this bit, cleric. That's a 3/4. You may look at the top card library at any time. You may cast creature spells from the top of your library. And most importantly, you may spend mana as though it's mana of any type to cast creature spells. Your deck wheel is a little off here, right? And that's just because you're still running lands from 5 or 6 years ago, which is fine. But even in a 3-color deck, that last clause is going to do a lot of work, right? The double blues, the triple blues, the double greens, all that stuff that you have, at some point you may get a little bit bollocks from. So we're reducing the only argument to be made is that you're reducing this to be less of a creature to beat face and just more of a straight grain utility creature. But for the mana reduction off the top, and the ability to cast them without any mana restrictions, I think Vizier is a little bit of an upgrade from a quality of life perspective.
So here's what I'll say. Yeah, You got it. You
Oh!
got it.
I thought you were gonna say, "Here's this is," so there's usually 2 responses from Mr. Combo. One of them is, "Here's the thing," and it's either like, "Here's the thing" goes one of 2 ways. It's a
get
branching
wrecked.
path. It's either you are completely wrong, or it's like there's no question that you are correct, right? Like, and it's one of 2 pitches. You're like, it's either like, "So here's the thing," and then it's like, "Okay, here we go. Here comes the diatribe," and then they'll be like, "Oh, here's the thing," right? And then it's the other way.
Yeah, so and I think the only reason I'll go ahead and even do this. The only reason I'm okay with it though is because it is only $5. I think
Oh,
if this
sure.
card was like $20 or
Oh,
something,
no,
I
yeah,
would tell you, hey, even though it's better, that effect isn't worth $20 in this deck.
sure.
Because Garuk's Horde cost me 17 cents or 12 cents.
Yeah.
But for 560, yeah, I can afford to go get, and I'm sure I could probably get a heavy plate or moderate plate for $4. Not a big deal.
Totally. And I bet you had this lying around somewhere in some pile in your basement.
I mean, if
Um,
anything, it's probably in my cube, which
yeah.
will never see the light of day again.
Yeah, fair point.
All right, guys, let's go to the no budget. I talked about it earlier. I gave all the reasons earlier, but I will recap it for YouTube. I'm cutting Intet the Dreamer.
Sure, fair
So,
enough.
Intet the Dreamer is 3 colorless teamer, and it basically is a 6/6 flyer. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may pay 2 colorless blue. If you do, exile the top card of their library face or of your library
Your
face
library.
down. You may look at that card for as long as it remains exiled. You may play that card without paying its mana cost for as long as Intet remains on the battlefield. The fact that it has to deal combat damage, the fact that it's only your library, it's just, and the fact that it's not like a oh, what's Black Homeboy? He's an Aether. He's a
Oh,
rogue. We love him.
jeez, this is like my favorite card of all time. It's not
It is.
Henny. Oh, I'm so pissed. I'm so pissed right now. I freaking love this card. All right, you keep talking. I'll figure this out.
All right. So that has a clause that you can cast it for the rest of the game, essentially, using mana of any kind. And I get it, this is an older card, so it wouldn't have the mana of any kind, but I would like it to where if the cards got exiled, could stick around and I could reuse them. But that's just the way it is. So the card I'm going to add is a new one. It's one that single Aaron and I were talking about the other day.
Ooh,
Is a staple in every deck possible.
Gaunty Lord of Luxury.
Gaunty Lord of Luxury. There we go. That is the card. But we're going to be putting in Wandering Archaic into the deck.
Oh, sure, yeah.
5 colorless creature avatar. It's a rare from Strixhaven. It's a 4/4. Whenever an opponent casts an instant or sorcery spell, they may pay 2 colorless. If they don't, you may copy the spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. So it is colorless creature. So Animar lets
Yep.
them play it for free. And we talked about it, 42 creatures. I'm kind of lacking the instants and sorceries, so I might need some of that stuff. But it also flips as well, which is why Aaron and I were talking about. It's a staple. Explore the Vast Lands. 3 colorless. It's a sorcery. Each player looks at the top 5 cards of their library, reveals a land and or an instant or sorcery card from among them, then puts the cards they revealed this way into their hand and the rest on the bottom of their library in a random order. Each player gains 3 life. So, it's basically literal worst case. Let's dig the top 5 and see if
Yeah.
I can find a land or an instant or sorcery. But every other situation, I'm playing it for probably free or close to free. And it becomes, once again, Wandering Arcade, it's annoying. Are you going to waste your removal on that or your bounce effect on that? Or are you going to do it on Animar, who's
Yeah.
actually the problem?
I think Wandering Archaic is a really interesting card. I think it's a card that when it got spoiled, everyone just assumed it was going to be immediately broken and slam it into a lot of decks. And I think that's reflected. I don't think that's necessarily the case, which is reflected by its price. It wasn't like it was pre-ordering for 15, now it's to 5. And I found that I have a hard time finding the right deck for this card, right? But that being said, I think this is the deck for it, right? Free, preventing people. This is a deck that's going to die to Spellslinger, right? Don't have a lot of interaction to it. This is a deck that's going to be hurting for that sort of interaction piece, counter spells, that sort of thing. And I think Wandering Archaic, bang for buck, command, cost for cost, body for body is going to do what you need it to in this deck in a big way.
Now, the question, Tuck, would you consider this a permanent spell or a non-creature spell? Which one is it? because it has a backside that's a non-creature, but the front
Oh,
side's a creature.
it's a permanent spell. Come on, what are you talking about?
Oh, so that means I can put it in my Brutaclad deck? Great! No more questions, no more. We're just
Oh,
going
is
to
that
move
what people
on.
are arguing about?
No, I just think it needs to go into Brutaclad.
Yeah, it
And I was just
absolutely
sitting here,
can.
but I was sitting here thinking, like, I did say it is an all permanent deck, but I was like, well, Shark Typhoon, I kind of rigmarolled my way around that with cycling. So yeah, just wanted to kind of know if I could use this in Brutaclad. Because
Especially that's just your own restriction, right? You're not running a companion or something like I am, where I'm
fair,
putting in
fair.
every single creature land, every single creature MFDC, even if they're suck, to surround up the mana base. So yes, this should immediately go into Animar. Or sorry, it should go into Animar. It should definitely go into Brutaclad as well.
Well, tell me what apparently is
All
going to
right,
open up my piggy bank after the wedding, because I did make a commitment to not buy no more expensive Magic cards until then. What do
nice.
you got?
All right, I'm gonna cut Priest of Brask, 2 colorless and a red for a creature human cleric. That's a 2/1. When enters the battlefield, add triple red to your mana pool. I think that you have way more
I've I've
efficient.
wo- I've won games with it.
Seriously?
Yep.
I feel I haven't seen any of those games myself, so what do I know, right? But I just feel looking at the list, you have way more efficient ways to do this sort of thing, right? These bouncing rigmaroles, this infinite mana stuff, that sort of thing. Just looking through the deck, that's the one that jumps out to me. Mr. Combo.
Yeah. The only thing I'll kind of add before we move to the card that you're adding is this is literally the comment I made earlier with the Kiora's follower. Like, I wish it had colorless and it did something else, because then I'm
Mm,
actually using Animar's ability. The fact that it's 2 colorless red, I'm essentially paying a red and netting 2 every single time.
sure.
And with your Equilibrium, that's infinite. I just win, and it just constantly loops and loops and loops. So that's why it's really good. It's because it's 2 colorless red, get 3 red pips. You can really kind of dig through there. But I understand this is your cut. Doesn't mean I have to listen to you. What are you going to put in there, though,
I'm gonna give you
Black Lotus?
I'm gonna give you 2 options. What do you value more? Drawing cards or removing permanents?
Removing permanents.
Okay,
Hands down.
excellent. Well, Mr. Combo, we've been doing this for what, 3 years now?
Three and a
And
half years.
there's been I can't believe that, by the way. We need to unpack that at some time. You know, there's a lot of times where in some of my middling decks, you'll make a comment and put in a certain amount of cards because I don't have it in there and because I don't own a copy of it. And you always argue, there's so much stuff on here. There's ways that this can go wild. There's way that this can value everything.
Sure.
So it's rare that you get to get the table turned around, if you will.
Okay.
So in this case, I would recommend that you shell out another $66 and put in your old pal Ulamog the Infinite Gyre. There you go. Congratulations. It finally turned around. 11 mana, which also is going to be 0. Legendary creature Eldrazi for an 11/11. It's a mythic rare. When you cast a spell, which matters, destroy target permanent. It's better than Terastodon. Indestructible. Beaten Face. Annihilator 4. Rhythm of the Wild. It's going to have haste. When it and then when it gets put into a graveyard from anywhere, its owner shuffles their graveyard into the library. You can even monster mash this and not deck yourself. The other option, if you're curious, was your other favorite one, Kozilek Butcher of Truth.
Sure.
I was waiting on which one you wanted. Here you are. It's not in a complete Eldrazi deck, but your 2 favorite cards that you just slam into every deck that you even own. Now you can put one into here for the low, low price of a proxy because you already own 10 copies of this thing.
So the funny thing is, I only own 1 copy of Infinite Yair.
What? Really?
He's not the one that I'm big into.
Yeah, I know the
It's good.
Kozilek's the one that you like more.
Ceaseless Hunger is the one that I usually play a ton of. Because he exiles
E-
2 permanents and or exiles 20
yeah,
cards off their library when they
equally
attack.
good, but he does not
Yeah,
monster mash, which we always
correct.
say
Correct.
we need that in this deck.
Yes, absolutely. But I mean, I have vigor, but I think it's one of those things. There's zero excuse for me not to have the Eldrazi Titans in the deck. Like, I should probably have Great Distortion in here, Butcher of Truth,
Yeah,
Ceaseless Hunger, Infinite Yair. Like, why wouldn't you have any of that stuff? So you're
just on,
absolutely right, and
just
I
on your
have a lot of
top end,
fat
right?
cut. Hmm.
Yeah. I think the last thing I'll say on that is like, it's okay. I don't like playing Animar decks, period. I don't like it when they're combo. I don't like it when they're Eldrazi. I don't even like it when they're like copy effects or whatever. I don't like any of them. I think they're all trash and they make me upset. But if you're going to play an Animar deck, you might as well put these in on the top end so that you always have something hugely impactful to cast for free when Animar gets to that point.
That's very fair. Well, guys, thanks for making it until the end. And if you really enjoyed this video, the audio piece, leave some positive feedback and a 5-star review on wherever you consumed us. That really helps the interwebs just really connect people so that way they can listen to us as well. Now, if you'd like to get a hold of the cast and the people responsible for this episode, here's how you could do that. You can reach me at MrComboNumber5 on Twitter, all spelled out except for the 5. BigTuck, where could people stalk you?
You can still see me at BigTuck tweeting on the Twitterverse, and also Rich Somner of Mad Men, and more importantly, Firewatch, the video game, turned a certain amount of birthday on February 2nd.
Turned a certain amount, like you don't know how old, or are they very sensitive about it, or is their birth certificate redacted bit?
Listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. When I tag these people, a lot of times I don't know who they are, and also a lot of times it's not accounts that exist. So I
I
can't help
like
you with
it.
any of that.
You can reach our main account at CMD Tower on Twitter as well, which I believe at the airing of this episode, we still have our amazing giveaway going on. So if you go follow, go to our main account, go to its Twitter page, retweet and like the post, and there's some instructions in there. So you have to follow my account, Tuck's account, and our pal over on the specialty episodes, Murphys, and you'll be entered to win a signed foil artist proof expropriate signed by the artist. So I mean it's absolutely amazing. That card, there's only 30 of them in existence, and if you want to know how rare they are, Josh Lee Kwai, your homeboy over at Game Nights, also bought up a ton of them. So
Also,
definitely go do that.
still coming for you, Jimmy.
Now, if you would like to see the deck list, the article, the cards we talked about, and the subsequent videos, you should head over to our website, cmdtower.com/BNBE124. Essentially, just type in Cloudstone Curio, Man-O War, Dreamstalker, Tower.com. Now, we couldn't do the video portion of this without our amazing video editor at _tcodes on Twitter. Tyler is helping us with our Twitch videos. He's helping us with our YouTube videos. He helps us with all the editing. The guy's great. He comes in at a pinch when we need some audio help. You guys should definitely go follow him, support him. If you have your own projects, hit him up because he is a valued member of the CMD Tower team. Now, we couldn't do this without Patreon and without your guys' support. So if you head over to patreon.com/CMD Tower, literally just give $5 a month. You'll be able to join Murphys' squad. You'll be able to get a sweet Squee McGee get up and fight token. You're going to be entered in to be on the show. Tons and tons of value for literally just $5 a month. And remember, the more of you join and the more of you are active in the community, the better the experience is going to be. So as much as you guys put into it, as much as we put into it is really what you're going to get out of it. So be sure to sign up and support the channel. Now, if you're an existing patron and you have some friends that you'd like to refer to join, make sure they hit us up on Patreon when they do and let us know what collective member did so we can send you some free swag for being an awesome referral and collective member. Now, if you'd like to get a hold of our awesome Jund sweater, our amazing foil playmats, even our OG playmat, or a variety of the other CMD Tower branded stuff, head over to our store, cmdtower.com/merch. We are running an amazing special over there, to where if you buy one of our holiday Jund sweaters, I think you get a pack of sleeves for like $3. It's great, especially if you need to sleeve up a new commander deck. Maybe you want to keep it in your bag for whenever you go do some draft. They're very durable, so you can definitely sleeve without them breaking. Definitely go check it out. Plus, redacted bit, get crap out of my basement. Now, we have started a brand new partnership, so you guys should head over to abysscardshop.com. Should be able to see it on screen, and use the promo code CMD Tower. Doesn't matter if it's lowercase or uppercase, I don't believe, but I think it's lowercase. But this is the person that we use for our playtest cards here at the channel. It's the person that I've personally used for my custom Game of Thrones deck, my custom Najila Mystical Archive deck. They're great to work with. They're very flexible. They own quite a bit of their own art, so that's fantastic because you're supporting an artist with all the endeavors they're doing. And yeah, you should go do it. Plus, the promo code stacks. So if you see a really sweet thing and you spend over $30, you're going to get our 10% discount and theirs. And the gravy on top or the cherry, I like gravy, some proceeds do go back to CMD Tower. So when you guys, if you're out there on Amazon and you're out there buying playtest cards, go to abyssproxyshop.com, support CMD Tower with the business you're literally already doing, because that will help grow our channel. BigTuck, Animar's glass cannon. Was it as bad as you thought it was going to be? And I was wrong. It's been 2.5 years in the making. Are you going to be okay?
It's fine. This is. It's not surprising to me that it's taken this long that we talked about this here, because these are pretty bog standard. I will say this though, I like that you have some of these enchantments that I talked about, as opposed to just all creatures. That it's going to give the deck a little bit more longevity, a little bit more cuteness. I think a lot of people miss out on the +1/+1 counters stacks, the Forgotten Ancients, the Increasing Savageries of the world, and how valuable those are. I do think that if you want, I feel, and you and I have called each other on this before, if you want to turn this into a deck that you actually are like, I haven't played in months, I'm gonna bring out Animar, I'm so excited about it. There's definitely some QOL and interesting cuts that you've identified to make it something a little bit more fun, a little bit more unique of a play for you.
Yeah. No, I agree on that. And actually, I mean, I'm probably going to cut almost all the cards that we've talked about. Going to add a ton. I outside of the Eldrazi Titans, which I'll probably be using our own promo code to go get a discount on some playtest versions. Outside of purchasing those, if I didn't already own them, most of the upgrades are very affordable. Like out of cards I physically don't own, or buying the card, it costs as much as a playtest, I'm maybe looking $20 to upgrade this deck.
And it's going to feel completely different. Yeah.
Yep, I completely agree. Well, guys, this has been a great episode of Brews and Builds. We're signing off. See ya!